Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Arthur Magulianiti. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, Doug. I'm good. Kind of happy it's Friday. Lots been going on this week, but lots more to do.
Yep. Well, you're heading out to the UK for the Alpha Reset that'll be kicking off there, one of our flagship events. That's always fun. Get a chance to connect with the guys and transform lives. Guys, for those of you that haven't had a chance to meet Arthur in person, he's one of our head coaches here. He's been through the program himself and just an absolutely amazing guy. He leads not only the brotherhood and the inner circle and oversees the coaching programs, but just a fantastic guy. We do an episode, if you look back in the podcast, where we talk a little bit more about Arthur's background. But I just want to give everybody a preface because Arthur's just such an amazing guy. I feel blessed to have you here today, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Well, with that, I've been saving a heavy topic for you for this one. So I had someone reach out to me, and I'm just going to read what they wrote, Arthur, and I'm putting you kind of right in the firing lines today. But the guys listening to this, I think, will appreciate this one. It says, Doug, I've listened to your podcasts, and one point you said that your wife coaches women's groups. I have a deep question for you. What's the true possibility that a woman truly cannot show love and cannot be intimate? If such woman has been so very damaged by her past, is it truly possible that she cannot do such things? What do you think, Arthur?
Well, I think that every person is able to obviously love and show intimacy. And when we are born and all of that, I think we come really loaded with just all of that. I think very few people are born unable to. I think what happens along the way does and can and does influence how you land up in a major way. If we see, we've often heard of, it's a common occurrence. People undergo trauma, some more serious than other. And as we go through life, experiencing these kind of things, we start putting up shields and barriers. We start making up stories and beliefs about ourselves, about our bodies. And we can definitely land up in a situation where we have closed ourselves off so much that we don't love ourselves. And hence we can't really love somebody else, outside of ourselves. Now, does that make that person unable to then love in the future? Well, only if they're not prepared to do work to clear that, because I believe anyone can clear trauma, can clear history. I'm not saying forget about it, but deal with it and put it behind them so that they can have a life in front of them. And so, I think someone can get themselves in a bit of a bind based on their past, which prevents them from showing up fully for themselves and others. And I think that can also be dealt with as well if that person wants to.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think everything you said, I agree with. And for this gentleman, one thing I will add for him to give him some context, and guys dealing with this, if you're finding yourself in this situation with your partner, what I'd want to know is, has this always been this way in the relationship, right? Or is this something that is now coming to the forefront of the relationship? Now, it can be happening. This could be coming to the forefront for a lot of reasons. My guess is somewhere along the lines, you've experienced this intimacy and this love with your partner, with your wife, and hence getting married and continuing. That's just a guess, right? But at the same time, I'm curious of what would come up within the relationship that now at this point she's closed off. Is it opening an old wound, right? Which is possible. Or is it simply the way that you both have shown up in your marriage, in your relationship, that has closed her down? My guess is it's the latter, Arthur. I would imagine for a lot of these guys, I mean, you have the benefit of you've coached thousands of men, so you start to see trends over time.
Yeah, for sure. Long-term relationships, how you started off and where you land up can be two polar opposites. And it's amazing when you go through like the life cycle of a relationship from when you first meet and, the exuberance of all that and nothing can go wrong and everything is so amazing. Even the weird stuff that the person does, you just love. But fast forward 5 to 10 years and move along that lifeline of the relationship, and that certain things can like irritate you and piss you off and build up resentment. So unless both people are working on the relationship and not just showing up in the relationship like, here we are, but actually working on the relationship, growing it, that relationship will shift. The energy will shift. Polarity may shift. And as soon as polarity starts shifting or going away, then you've got two people starting to drift apart. And then things start falling into those cracks, which drive people further apart. And then what you have in the end is like two strangers looking at each other and saying, like, how did we get here? We started off so well. So yeah, things do change a lot if you're not conscious and aware of how you're showing up, how the other person's showing up. If the two people, the partners, aren't working together to resolve, things that come up, which if unresolved builds up resentment, and then off you go. It's a slippery slope.
It really is. And polarity, I think, is such an important topic. And Arthur, you just did a whole masterclass on polarity for the men in our 1-year mastermind group, the Brotherhood and the Inner Circle. These are guys that, for those that don't know, that have gone into the activation method and have chosen to continue on with us with one of our higher level programs. It combines coaching and masterminding and networking with other high level guys. So gentlemen, side note, if you'd like to hear more about polarity from Arthur, go over to our Facebook group and just let us know. And I can try to get Arthur back on here to share some more of his wisdom. When you think about this from a man's perspective that's reaching out to us, and saying, hey, look, can my wife, or a woman, right? He's talking about his woman, of course, can she actually love again? Or can she actually just be shut off? One of the things that comes to mind to me, Arthur, right away is, how are you as the man showing up to give her the space, right? To give her the space that she needs to heal whatever's going on. What are a couple things that we can go back and forth here, but what are a couple things that this guy could do right away to provide that space?
So one of the things that we often see is that guys get into this pleasing mode, right? So, the question comes up, what should we do this weekend? What should we eat? And the guy wanting to please and keep his partner happy defers making up a decision or making a decision, thinking that gives the other person a better answer because they can choose whatever they want. But what happens is most guys land up deferring their leadership within a relationship, and that's the masculine side of things, where the masculine leads and makes decisions, right? Your partner, your feminine partner, can easily make decisions. Doesn't mean she really wants to be doing that all of the time.
Yep.
And so just stepping up into the leadership capacity, doing what needs doing, number one, when you're walking around the house and you see stuff that needs doing and you just ignore it because you think she's going to do it, right? That is one thing, making sure that you have a decision, you have a point of view that you can share with her, not leaving everything to land up on her shoulders. I think that is a major one because we see that so often. So really just being, having your own opinion and making decisions and for the family and for yourself, and be willing to back that up if things go wrong. Because that's the other reason guys will want to make a decision just in case it goes wrong, and then they're going to hear it, Yep. But that's just the price you pay, for being, you're the leader in the partnership. And when I say leading, it's more like a dance leading, it's a partner leading the dance. It's not that one is better than the other, or one's like in charge and the other one isn't. It's really having a leader that can just make the dance go well. So definitely making decisions and not leaving everything to her, doing the things around the house that need doing, that need fixing without being told. Those are a couple of the first things, the basic things that can start happening.
Yeah. What's so interesting, because we see so often when men finally join the program, some guys have been, inquiring about the program for years, like literally for years, until they actually make the decision to go. And something that happens for a lot of guys is they're going to get shit tests, right? Why are you joining this? The time you're going to take is usually the biggest one, the push or the financial investment or whatever it is. But the wife's really just testing them. And when they commit and go all in, they start to see a shift in their relationship immediately, because their wife is seeing them make decisions, be decisive. And that's kind of the irony there, right? Is they're waiting on the fence, and what they really need is just to get off that fence and jump right in.
Yeah, I love that, and it speaks to another point, and that is for guys to really have a mission outside of the family. Mm-hmm. Too often, guys will get involved with like their business, and then back in the family, the business back in the family, but they don't have a real mission or passion that they are living out for themselves that makes them happy, and they're kind of defaulting back into the family to make them happy, but it doesn't work that way. Very few guys are really satisfied with just having a family life, and David Weather talks about it in the Superior Man and all of that. But a guy needs to have a mission. He needs to have a passion that he's throwing himself into. Otherwise, he's not going to feel complete or fulfilled. And yes, family can do that, and your business can do that, but there's something more here. When you commit to something over and bigger than yourself, then things start shifting and changing. And that is attractive as well. I mean, guys that are really set on a bigger goal than themselves, going out there and hitting it head on. That's kind of cool when women look on you. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at our mission, what you and I have dedicated this portion of our lives to, which is helping men around the world. It's our mission. We launched a nonprofit, which we'll be rolling out more this year, called the Worldwide Movement, dedicating to helping men around the world, as well as the Powerful Man, which currently focuses on helping married businessmen. And I can tell you for sure, guys, my wife responds to that very well when I do it. And even today, my son was sick, and Arthur and I were talking about that offline. My wife came to me and said, "Hey, should we keep him home from school today?" Right? Because she's respecting my leadership and my decision making. Not that she doesn't know what to do. My wife knows better than I do what to do with my son, but it's just that natural dance, as you said. Just like if you're dancing at a wedding, or you're doing a formal classic ballroom dance, there has to be someone leading that dance. It doesn't mean that the other person isn't a better dancer or what have you, but you need a leader, otherwise it falls apart. And it's the same thing in your marriage.
Yeah. And going back to polarity, if you're not prepared to lead, then your wife will step up to lead, and that most likely means she's going to step up into her masculine. Yep. So, and that may mean you have dropped down into your feminine, right? And we both have masculine and feminine energy, so it's not like we have to choose. However, if your core is masculine and you're camping out in the feminine with a feminine essence for too long, that's not good. If you're both masculine, that's no good. There's no polarity. There's no passion. And so if you're not leading, then your wife is probably in her masculine, quite likely, because she's have to step up to do what you haven't done.
Yep. And this is when women step into their masculinity who aren't naturally masculine. And most women aren't, guys, by the way. It's a bell-shaped curve, their whole deal. Then they're going to close down. They're going to resent you for the way that they feel. And they might do this subconsciously. And then what tends to happen, doesn't happen to all the women, but they start having emotional affairs or fantasies about more masculine men that can get them back into their natural zone, and sometimes physical affairs as well.
Yeah. Look, once we start driving that gap between the two partners, because of the way we're showing up, other things will fall into those cracks, into those gaps, distractions, the shopping, the TV, the phone, and unfortunately somebody else that gives them that appreciation, that understanding, that admiration that perhaps they don't feel they're getting from you.
Yeah, most definitely. Unfortunately, we see it far too often here. Guys find out, or some guys don't find out until much later that had happened. So getting back to this question, we've given you guys one thing, which is be decisive. So if you're waiting on a decision, whether it's, going out to dinner, where to go, whether it's keeping the kids home from school, whether it's joining the activation method, whether it's doing something else to work on your relationship, doesn't have to be this program, but you want to make that decision today, guys. Another thing you guys can do is really creating space, right? And what I mean by that is a lot of times we're in do mode as men, right? We're doing, and we're conquering the world out there in business. And oftentimes we don't create that container for the feminine energy. So for this gentleman's wife, per se, to what we call unload the berries, empty the basket, so to speak, giving her the space where she can share her feelings, her thoughts, her desires, what her fears, whatever it may be, because we're constantly in do mode, getting things done, distracted, reading, checking our phones, whatever it may be, rather than just holding space for the feminine woman, for our wife, so that she can, in this sense, right, talk about her damage and what really is going on, not just the surface level about what happened in the past, but what's occurring for her today in this moment. I know you know this, Arthur, but the feminine energy is so moment by moment. That's why a woman could be mad 1 second and then passionate the next. It can go all over the place. And you can really get a woman, when you're in your power, to change just like that, depending on the situation.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing that your partner's looking for is to feel safe, yep. Right? Before she'll go anywhere to open up. And if she's not feeling safe because she doesn't trust your leadership, she's not going to open up, right? And so that is, if you can't really control what your partner will decide to do from a work perspective on herself. But what you can surely control is how you show up to create a safe environment for her to be able to relax and eventually open up if you're consistent about that.
Absolutely. And I want to give the guys one or two more things that they find themselves in this situation, Arthur. So something else I'll throw out on the table. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. And I want to give this guy in particular credit because he is in the program right now going through it. So he's showing some of that leadership. He's doing the work. He's reaching out, right? He reached out to me in this case for a little bit of help and getting this question thrown on the table for the podcast. So kudos to him going through there. So if you find your wife in this situation, guys, where she's closed down, she's hurt, one of the things that you can also start doing is working on your integrity. And what I mean by that is, where in your life are you not honoring your word? So a classic example could be, you know what? I'm going to start getting fit again. Tomorrow I'm going to go running. And you talk about it with your wife, and then tomorrow happens, the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. and you hit the snooze button. And it's not the first time it's happened. It's a micro lie, right? Yeah, you changed your mind. Or it's something else that you're going to do. You're going to take the family on vacation. It just doesn't happen because work gets in the way. These little micro commitments that get broken start to add up in your partner's mind. And to Arthur's point, a woman wants to be safe, right? If she can't trust you to honor your word to yourself, how can she trust you to honor your word to her? And this is where these micro commitments really come in handy, guys. And you want to look at your life very objectively and just say, okay, what have I been talking about doing that I haven't done? This could be the home projects, right? These could be working out. This could be losing weight. This could be learning a foreign language, playing the guitar, whatever it could be. Look at where you've been doing this, and then A, own up to it. B, stop making these micro commitments you can't actually do. And then C, what you want to do is start really owning it. And what I mean by owning it is going after it. And again, I'll use Arthur's point here because I think it's a great one. If there's shit that you need to do around the house, just do it. Right. And as you said that, Arthur, I'm thinking of something I told my wife I was going to do that I haven't gotten to. So as soon as we get off this, I'm going to run up there and knock it out. It was a low priority on my list, but maybe higher on hers. But I know she's watching, and that's the key.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And that keeping your word as a man, is one of the most important things, because, if you don't have, if you get to known as not being able to keep your word, then what do you have? You can have the material things, you can have this, you can have that, but it doesn't mean anything, and so you have to be a man of your word, which means integrity, which means doing what you say you will do. And if you can align what you're thinking, what you're saying, and what you're doing, that makes you really congruent. All too often, we're thinking one thing, we're saying another, and we're doing a third. And that makes us very wishy-washy because we give off an energy that is just not congruent. And people pick that up, especially our partners. And if they're picking up this wishy-washy coming from you because you're not aligned, well, then that's going to make them feel a little bit unsafe. Yeah.
Absolutely. So guys, what I'm really going to encourage you to do is, if you're finding yourself in this situation, is look at what's going on here. And really take inventory of the things that Arthur has shared and where are these applying in your life. And there's also another side to this, is that, you get to do the work on you and your partner gets to do the work on them, right? You can't fix your partner. You can provide space for them to do the work. You can provide the leadership. And what I mean by that is by you doing the work on yourself, so to speak, which we all have stuff to do. I mean, I'm constantly working on myself, but by you doing it and showing the leadership, odds are that your partner will follow suit. I mean, we see this all the time. A guy comes into the program, he starts working out again. Next thing you know, he's like, wow, my wife's going to the gym again. My wife's doing this. The people around you, when you're a leader and you're a powerful man, they follow suit. They're watching your actions and they're going to step in line and follow them. And so you get to set the example and create the space for her to be able to improve upon herself as well.
Yeah. And I think one thing we've got to remember is that this is really an energetic game, right? And you may think like, oh, there's going to be so much work to shift things, to change things, all of that. And yet it can happen in a moment, right? Because it's really all about energy. And when you can commit, and you really commit with your true intention, commitment, your body, you bring your body and your mind into it, then your energy shifts. And that in that moment, things can just revert back to how they were. It doesn't need to have years of therapy, depending of course, what the trauma was or what the situation is. Obviously, each one is unique. But for most parts, if you can just switch your energy and step up and stay consistent, that's all sometimes it takes. And so it can happen in a moment,
Absolutely. Arthur, as always, thank you for taking the time. I know you're heading over to the UK tomorrow to, lead a group of men through what I have found to be the most transformational experience I've ever seen in the world. And I just really appreciate all you do for the movement, for guys around the world. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Doug. Always a pleasure, and love being here and working with the guys, working with you. And looking forward to much more.
Yeah, well, we'll get you on more. Gentlemen, what I'd love for you guys to do is go over to the Facebook group. If you'd like to hear more about polarity, Arthur is, like I said, he just led a masterclass on the subject. If you have questions about polarity, go over to the Facebook group. It's a free group. It is private. I've just got to apply for it and post your questions on polarity in there. Arthur's in there as well as myself, Tim, and the other coaches. And we'd love to hear from you guys and what you want. So, gentlemen, as we always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action, and we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.